Oh, okay. Ask me the chip question.
What happens if we
Ask me.
I've been so prepared for this chip question. I've been thinking about it so much because I do love a good hot chip.
Ask-
That be the intro?
That is
Ask
so
me the chip
funny.
question.
Right, we got to start. I've only got an hour to talk about myself. Ask me the chip question.
Ask me the chip question. I've been waiting.
It's been a long wait, ladies and gentlemen, but welcome to the Chip Lunch podcast. A long wait because there's two people one that has not been on this podcast and one that has not been on this podcast for a while.
Yes.
I'm going to start. Excuse me.
That was
Let me
hilarious.
introduce you. Excuse me. That's a bit of a
Excuse
throwback
me?
to that. To last week.
I'm like an English teacher.
Listen.
Excuse me.
Boys at the back.
Stop talking, you two. I haven't introduced you yet.
Sorry.
First one. Gemma, you've been on the podcast before.
I have. I
That's-
think this is number 4.
Number 4 of Chip Lunch.
Yeah. Yep, number 4.
I don't know why I put that accent
Chip
on.
lunch.
Welcome to Chip Lunch. Now, would you like to tell us why you've come back on and who is we are having on with the... Oh my gosh, can't speak properly. Who are we having on the podcast with us today?
I'm
Why
back.
adjust your microphone.
Oh, okay. Adjust. Excellent. I'm back because one of my lovely youth girls, Miss Amelia McMorty, has joined us in the podcast today.
Thanks, guys.
Round of
Thanks.
applause,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Round of applause.
Thank you.
Snaps.
Oh,
Snaps. Little snaps.
Yeah,
little
that's slays.
slay snaps.
I got it. I beat you. Do it.
said slay
I know.
first.
I'm like, I'm going to beat you first. Do it. Anyway, sorry.
Nah.
Yes, Amelia, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Fantastic.
I'm slaying.
That's great. So
Well,
good.
you said before that you've been wanting to do this for a while. Is that how long has it been that we wanted?
ever since it came out, been
Ever since
number one fan.
episode 1 was it?
Episode numero.
The OG.
Is that number one?
Numero uno. Numero
Uno.
only means number, right?
Oh,
Episode numero.
episode one.
Excellent. And is there one that has been your favourite?
My
So
dad's
far?
one.
Your
My-
dad's one.
Yeah, my dad's one.
That
Which
was
is
a
pretty
good one.
recent, wasn't it? With
Yeah.
Jai. Mm.
He didn't talk about me that much, so
I've come to make amends.
it's
Fill in the
sad.
gaps. Fill in the gaps.
yeah. It's like a picture that's just needs a few little
Finishing
additions.
Fine details. Yeah.
Few little zhuzhes.
Pizzazz.
You guys are a bad influence on me.
I know.
Anyway.
Just you wait. At the end of this podcast, you'll be saying slay like every
Slay.
second word.
And the Ask Queen.
And girl
Yes.
boss.
Girl boss, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a whole dictionary.
I didn't used to be like this either. So this is where that's come from.
You are an influence, Amelia. One of my recollections of you, Amelia, is my wife and I, prior to us being married, looked after you when you were 1 year old at your parents' house. So I'm sure you don't remember that.
No.
But I do remember we looked after you about 3 or 4 hours when your parents had to go out for something.
Did I sleep?
I don't know if it was sleep time.
Okay, because I didn't sleep.
You used to have, didn't you used to have night terrors?
I don't
As
know,
well?
but all I know is once I had to, because I crawled so early, I had to have knee pads on. And once like Manda and like, I don't remember who the other person
Someone
was.
said it was Sarah. Knuckles.
Yeah, Sarah. Yeah. And they babysat me
Mm.
and they were supposed to take the knee pads off when I went to sleep, but they left them on while I was sleeping. So I've been
So what
traumatized
happened?
ever since.
Yeah, I was going to say, what happened after that?
I just can't look at knee pads anymore.
Yeah.
I
Just can't. Yeah. How often are you looking at knee pads?
you know, just on the daily, I go through the shop. The online shopping. And like, ooh, I can't look at that.
On the online shopping,
On the
you
online
look up knee pads.
It's on Wish.
Secretary, yeah,
You look it up on Wish.
Shein.
Shein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Shein.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Ed Sheeran. Why don't we ask the question?
The chip question?
Ask the chip question.
Yeah, ask the chip question. Will you? Fire out. Let me ask the chip question.
Okay.
Amelia, how do you like to have your hot chips?
A lot of chicken salt.
Ooh,
And tomato sauce.
Yeah. Yep.
I love chicken sauce.
We are friends.
so
We are still
much.
friends.
You what? Sorry.
We're still friends because I like chicken salt.
Oh, I love
So-
chicken salt so much. I got so offended when Dad
Yeah,
said he
still
liked
friends.
no salt. And
No
no
salt?
sauce.
She obviously hasn't listened to the episode, has she?
Yeah, gosh.
I don't remember that part. I listened,
fan.
but I don't remember that part.
Yeah, he's no salt. He's a no salty.
Sometimes when we talk
I
about
feel like
the
that's
chips,
a lie. He does like a good barbecue sauce with his chips.
it's very strange.
Does he?
Yeah, but I prefer tomato
Me too.
Me too. Chips have to have tomato sauce.
and a lot of chicken salt
Yeah, I can take or leave that.
all on there.
That one, but yes, tomato sauce is definitely has to go with hot chips.
Or I do like it on a sandwich.
So hot chip sandwich with tomato sauce.
Oh, yum.
2 pieces of bread or 1?
2.
Mm.
Gluten free.
Don't you think that? Cool. do you think that? I find that if you do 2 pieces, the sauce is more likely to come out, whereas if you fold 1 piece, it's less likely for things to fall out.
Oh, I kind of just like slot the sauce into the chips.
Well, when you're making it.
What?
Yeah.
I don't understand why that was a
Did you
response
like
to what
a
I
chip
said.
and then like a line of sauce and then a chip?
Yeah, and then like I do it so the sauce doesn't like. Ugh.
Oh, so you're using the chips to stop the sauce
Yeah.
coming. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that is interesting
I was
technique.
confused.
We know. I think you're the one lagging behind on this
Yeah,
podcast.
Gemma's a bit
and not
lost.
Gemma.
Sorry, I'm a bit rusty.
Yes, well, you're getting ready to get married.
I am.
I didn't. So I was thinking about what do I introduce Gemma about? You know, when I found out. When I found
Gemma-
out,
So boring. What
Likes
can I possibly
bread.
talk
when I
about?
found
with
out
her?
you were coming on. Far
Gemma
out.
likes red. That's
She likes what?
red.
Red.
Gemma and Katie's blue. Gemma is red. Just in my head.
These are your leaders, Katie and Gemma.
Yeah.
Would you have had Katie? Was that last time you were on the podcast, Gemma? Was when we did it with Katie and she talked about singing,
Yeah.
being like on the road to Damascus.
Yeah.
Like Saul.
What?
There was this big light, and she was she like kissing Ethan or talking to Ethan?
She
or
was
something?
something about Ethan, and she was like, "It's like the road to Damascus,
I'm like
when it's
Paul on the
blinded
road.
by the
Yeah,
light."
I'm like Paul's
Such a
conversion.
Katie thing
I
to
know.
say.
I know, right?
Just to refresh everyone's memory of that
Yeah,
part.
go
Yeah.
back to one of the episodes. I can't remember what episode it was.
Hit the link down below.
Yeah.
Well, I will put the link in, but I was
Oh.
just thinking I'll look it up while Amelia,
Yes.
you tell us how you became a Christian.
Okay. Well, I grew up in a Christian household. My dad is a pastor, not the food type, the God type. And
The God
I actually have to
version,
explain
isn't
it to people because they're like, he's a pastor? Like
Oh, really?
noodle? And I'm like, no.
Spaghetti.
What if you said Christian pastor, well, then they know what you
Yeah,
meant?
or I go minister and they go, he's prime minister? No.
Which electorate is he in? Like, yeah, be like really political. That's really funny. What's his portfolio?
He's
No.
not ScoMo.
No.
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 Anyways, yeah. And so I grew up in lots of different churches.
Yeah.
I've been to 3.
Guymere,
Guymere,
Helensburgh.
Ellensburg,
Now-
All Saints,
Yeah.
Soul Revival.
Yeah.
4.
4. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah.
That's how you became a Christian?
That's how I
Oh.
became. Well, yeah. I got baptized when I was 1.
Mm.
And I don't really remember when I was like, oh yeah, like I'm a Christian. I kind of just like grew up with it. And you know when you like if you grow up in a house with like your parent who has an accent, you like get that accent.
Mm.
It's kind of just like that. I kind of just like grew up into it.
Mm.
You feel?
I feel.
Was there a moment? your response.
That's
feel-
the response.
Yeah, but it's just I feel.
It's
Moving on.
touching.
But
I'm
it's
sorry.
that's a relatively short story, so I'm wondering if you can
Yeah.
expand
Oh,
on it
yes.
a little bit.
But
But was there a moment when you? I mean, a lot of people that we've talked about that either grew up in a Christian household or grew up even with a family that was in ministry. Was it there was a moment they had to take on the decision themselves? Was there a moment for you like that?
yeah, I think it was a week away because it was a bit later on because at my old church they were like I didn't really go there a lot because there weren't many kids my age, and to be honest it was a bit scary. Now it's a bit scary, so
Right.
the church Gemma, don't make me laugh. The church was a bit scary. So I think I was in year 6 maybe, and I remember going to that that little room, the room in between all the Watersley cabins. It was near my cabin. I was
Yep.
cabin number 5.
Yep. I
Like
know.
the meeting room.
The meeting room, yeah. And
There's
I
a
remember
meeting
it
room.
was Dan, and I was
Oh, yeah.
eating Fantels, and I wasn't supposed to eat them because I had braces on.
Mm.
But anyways, and we did like this whole like little thing at night, and it was all us basically just saying that like we were Christians, and we like prayed or something, and then we had like snacks, and it was kind of like a party. That's kind of my earliest memory of like being like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian.
Mm. What does that look like for you? Do you think anything changed after that? Did you think that like did something change in your like your mindset, or knowing that you had the Holy Spirit?
I kind of just felt more like included with like everyone, because I kind of felt like just like everyone, like I was surrounded by a lot of people who had said themselves like they were Christian, and I just kind of felt like, oh, like I'm part of that now, even though like I was part of it before, but like.
But this is what we were saying, like a personal choice, a personal
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
And did you feel like when you made that decision, like that was like kind of a more like, I know for me when I kind of did that, because I grew up in a Christian family as well, that there was a significant point in time where I was like, actually this is not just because my parents are Christian that I'm a Christian, it's actually because it's something that I want to choose to like. Did you have like an experience kind of
Yeah,
like
I kind of, because we had like we had our little groups during when everybody, like all the adults were in church, and then we got told to like think about it until like the night, and I was like, yeah, like Jesus is pretty cool, he's pretty slay, sorry, he's pretty cool, like he's been a massive part of my life growing up, and I want him to be a massive part of my life for the rest of my life, and I want to slay with him in heaven.
I think there's something we need to address before we move any further. And I made a joke of it saying it before you did. Why do you say slay so much, and what does that mean?
I don't know. I actually don't know what it means. Like, well, I know what it means in like medieval, but like it's just been kind of a thing.
I feel like this is just like my interpretation upon viewing this situation and kind of, I don't know, being converted to say slay all the time.
You're now a slayer.
I'm now a slayer.
Girl boss slay queen Gemma.
I think it's like one of those words where it's like, you know when everyone said like, oh, vibes.
Yes.
Like, do you know that? Like, I feel like you
What
don't.
did they say back in your day?
Like a word just like that
I don't know
almost
if I can repeat them.
describes every, like, you can use it in a lot of situations and it just like works, like how you'd be like not a vibe or good vibes or happy vibes. It's like this is kind of the same where you're like, oh, you've done a really good job, slay. Like it's like the way you're looking at me right now is really not.
I'm just listening.
I also say it when I'm in very awkward like text situations, when they're like they say something and I'm like, oh, okay, slay. I kind of just
Really?
it's just like a filler word,
Yeah.
I think. But people, I found that we've like started using it like in our youth girl group. Slay has just become a very like iconic thing to say.
I bought
It's
it in
like
though.
it's actually really nice though, because in our like little group, it's kind of like a uniting thing, if that makes sense. Like it's like a fun thing we all like say to each other. Like I don't know.
That's all right. I'm just listening, Gemma. You
It's
don't
like
have to.
teenage girl
Yeah,
like
it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah. I definitely feel like a bit too old to be
No, Gemma.
saying slay, but you know, you just kind of do what you do when you're a youth leader. You can
My
get away
mum
with
says
it.
it. So.
Your mum does say it, and I have to say she also has influenced me with some of the language that I now use in everyday settings.
Yes. Let's retire to the lounge. I did that one the other day. I had friends over and I was like, do you guys want to retire to the lounge? And mum looked at me and she's like,
So your mum says it or Gemma says it?
no, my mum says it.
Christine says it. I can't imagine a 16-year-old. Let's retire to the lounge,
but it
guys.
I know. What, like, are you
At a
in?
gather or something like.
Well, no, we were just at my house and I was like, guys, let's retire to the lounge. And I was so proud of myself for saying that. And I looked at mum and she was like,
What did your friends
Christine
do?
say?
my friend's like, and I was like, okay, let's just go
They're
down
like,
to the garage
so-
or something.
They're like, it's so formal here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
posh.
what is it? It sounds like a period drama. Like
my
you know,
gosh.
we're what's that word called? I can't think of what it's. What
They do use retire a lot. I'm literally trying to think.
The internet is slow.
It's always slow here.
Like Pride and Prejudice. That's what it sounds
I
like.
haven't seen
Yeah.
that in ages.
I've never seen it,
Neither have I
and
actually.
I will be keeping it that way. I don't know why period dramas are so popular with people.
I like watching Outlander.
Okay.
What?
Thanks for sharing.
Is that not like a period?
It is. Yeah, it is.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
it is. You're
Yeah.
right.
It's
Sorry.
a period
Jeez.
case.
Guys, I didn't just say that.
Not, what's the other one? Bridgerton.
Bridgerton.
Oh,
I'm not allowed
that's
to
an
watch
atrocity, but anyway. So bad.
Anyway, slays.
Slay.
We made sleigh bracelets too. We thought we'd wear them and show you.
You made it for the podcast?
No, we
No.
made them last week at youth. Well, Amelia actually
I did,
made them.
And we have matching one with Sky.
Yeah,
That's
sleigh
cool.
bracelets.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Well, thank you for enlightening me, even though I have heard the song before, particularly from Beyonce. But I was interested in what it represented for you in your particular age.
It's just, yes, I'm very old. It's
I
just.
was actually saying I was very old.
Yeah.
No, oh, right. Well, I'm old for youth.
Yeah, because you say retire.
Yeah.
Retire to the
Retire to lounge.
I dare to whip that out at youth tonight.
I am. Oh, no, I'm going to, whoever's leading, I'm going to be like, oh, actually, can I just stay up and say something before they're like, we can now
It'll
go
probably
into
be
our
me.
groups
You're
now.
telling me. That.
Oh, yeah. Well, can I go up?
This is not like a teenage movie. I have something to say.
I stand up and I'm like,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah.
Dramatic music plays
Excuse
behind
me,
me.
I am going to tell you why everyone's included. Everyone's amazing. You know how those movies say that?
Mm.
And then they're like, yeah. And it's like the girl that was supposedly ugly and then became beautiful.
And then they all do a dance at the end and
Yeah.
they all make
Flash
up.
mob.
Yep, flash
Specifically.
flash mobs.
I want to be a
Another
part
thing.
of a flash mob.
I actually have before. Fun fact.
And yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
But
whatsoever.
there was when I was very young, and I will not be revisiting that area of my
Flash
life.
mobs were like popular for 6 months.
I think that's when I did it, when it was popular.
When was it popular?
Well, because you've always gone against the grain, Gemma.
No,
Sorry.
you're
No.
being so savage to me today.
I know, sorry. You've got me fired up. You're like, this is going to be a great podcast. I'm like, well, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Yeah, I said we're just going to say slay a lot. And you
Yeah.
roasted us for saying slay. And then I
Yeah.
said, no, you're in for a treat because look at this. How good.
It's actually
I'm
going.
intrigued.
It's going really well.
Am I the youngest that you've had on here?
Probably.
Yeah, I think so. Well, Hudson and Daniel have been
They're
on.
older than me.
You're 16.
Yeah.
They were 16 when they were on, maybe.
Yeah, true. But
But you still might be younger. And when you made that decision, taking it all the way back to
yes.
when you're on Week Away, which is when we go away as a church for a week, you're obviously part of the kind of youth program, teenage program at
Yep.
Week Away.
it was actually
How-
the kids one.
Was it the kids? Because that's my question was, how old were you when
I
you were
was
doing
in year 6, so I was like 12.
12? 11 or 12?
12.
How is it being, like, because when you take on a personal responsibility for your faith, it's different, right? It's not
Yep.
just, it's my parents, it's my family's kind of thing, or it's my churches. It's now, I own this, which is what you're saying happened at that time.
Yep.
What does that look like in, like, your friendship circles and at school and stuff like that for you? Is it difficult or is it?
I think it's kind of like with my friend group in year 7, it was pretty difficult. I went through like lots of friend groups, just trying to find the right fit. But with my friend group now, I think it's pretty all right. Like they all know that I can't hang out Friday nights or Saturday nights. Well, yeah. I don't know what I was going to say.
Well, because you're going to church.
Yeah.
You're going to youth and you're going to church.
Yeah, and they just like kind of know that my dad's a minister and like I go to church and like I'm a Christian. And they don't really have like all the weird like, because some people have really weird stuff around Christians and like
Really?
they're like, do you like not eat meat on the week? And I'm like, no.
The voice,
The
the voice of the questioner is so funny.
Just wait until I do my mum's impression.
Can't wait for that.
That's good.
So is that so? They have questions around food and stuff like that.
No, some people ask really weird questions like,
Hit me with them.
like, oh, do you not eat meat around Easter? Like, does your dad like not do stuff on Sundays? Like, what else do they ask? They ask like really whack questions, and I'm like,
So like it's a fair bit of confusion about what it is to be a Christian.
yeah, like,
Right.
and they're like, if you're a Christian, then why do you like Harry Potter?
Oh, that's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like
I'm
all these like
Queen.
cultural You say Queen again?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just keeping up.
I was gonna wear your necklace you got me. I forgot. Anyways, okay. Sorry.
Cool. Let's just keep
Random
on.
side
Yeah.
note.
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm sure that necklace slays.
It does.
I've forgotten the question. Oh, it's all these like. Isn't it interesting? It's like our culture has become, I would say, less Christian,
Mm.
and then getting to the point where it's like down at your age, they just pick out those things that are considered a little bit
Yeah.
weird. Like I remember there was a thing about Harry Potter when it was like there was some Christian organization in America saying because it practices witchcraft and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff that they really stood up. So that's what they've picked up about Christians.
Mm.
That's what Christians do. Same with the meat thing.
Yeah.
But even like if he doesn't do anything on Sunday, that's a Jewish thing of like
Yeah, I know.
the
They
Sabbath.
ask the weirdest questions, and they're like, "Do you only read the Bible? Like, is that the only book you read?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? And it's like all that fundamentalist, like really
Yeah.
fringe stuff that's all they hear about rather
Oh
than
yeah, and they asked me. One of them asked me if I prayed every day of like every hour of the day, and I was like, "No." I feel like God would get annoyed at me. He'd be like, "Oh my gosh, just shush, stop the praying. We get it."
I don't know if that's true.
I don't think that's
I don't know if that's
true.
theologically correct, but
But they,
what is your answer then to those weird questions? Like sometimes you're like, no, but
Yeah.
what do you ever? Does it ever start a conversation that you can actually have like a reasonable chat about it?
Yeah, well, my best friend, she didn't grow up in a Catholic home, but her grandma was Catholic, so she's like they went to the Catholic church, and she comes here sometimes, and it's very different. And so sometimes when we have sleepovers at like 3:00 in like the morning, we just like randomly start talking about it, and it just like leads into 2-hour conversations about like the differences between like Christianity and like like Catholic churches, and like how we do it different at our church, and we like do stuff different at our church because she doesn't eat meat around Easter, and she's like, "Why aren't you doing that?" And I'm like, "Oh, because we just don't."
yeah.
I actually don't know why. We just don't,
Mm.
because meat slays.
Well, the meat has already been slain when you eat it.
It's been slayed.
It has.
Maybe you're going to work in an abattoir or something.
A what?
An abattoir. That's where they cut up cows and stuff.
You'll be a slayer.
You really would slay.
Full-time slayer.
Yeah, you would be fully slaying.
I'd rather never slay in my life again.
Wow.
Ooh, big call,
That
big
is a
call.
big,
Big call, I
big
know.
shift. So does everyone at your school know you're Christian?
Because I go to like the little scripture things.
The little scripture.
You sounded so demeaning when you said
No,
I go to
no,
like
but
the
like,
little...
well, because that's literally what they are at Kirui. There's like no scripture. I haven't had scripture once this time, this
Yeah.
year,
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, right.
like at all. I had it once last year with Ethan, and
Mm.
it was very interesting.
So, but there's the lunchtime group.
I always have rehearsals
On the lunchtime.
on the lunchtime group. We always do rehearsals for dance.
Oh, you do
Kinda annoying.
dance. You do a lot of dancing.
Yeah, I
don't you?
do.
Talk to us about that. It's just the way you like to express yourself. In
Oh, I
dancing.
just do a lot of dance. Tuesdays, Thursdays, school, weekends.
Because you do a Stedfords and stuff
Yeah.
too, don't you?
I got one, not this week and the next.
You're really funny.
Thanks, I know.
Is there a difference between being a Christian in dancing and being a Christian at school?
Yes,
Do tell.
yes, because dancing is like, it's such a toxic environment, and it's so easy to get caught up with like saying all these toxic, mean things, and like people, like I don't think everybody at dancing knows it. Oh, maybe they do, but like because you don't really have that much time to talk at dancing.
Because you're dancing.
You're just
Yeah,
doing the
because you dance.
routine.
My dance teacher yells at you.
Oh, really?
But like, anyways, it's fun. But we don't really have time to talk. But like sometimes dance interferes with like church and stuff, and I kind of have to choose dance even though I don't want to, because Mum's paid for it.
And also
like-
the consequences. Like I
Yeah.
remember I found if you like, say you had an Stedford, I don't know, this might be different like
Yeah.
for you now, but when I did dance, if we had an Stedford say on the Sunday, and we had dance rehearsals on the Saturday, if you missed those classes, you couldn't go in the
Dance, yeah.
assessment. It was like, no, you're missing out. Sorry. So like the consequences are quite brutal, considering it's like, if you play soccer, like I don't know, this is a very like, I've never played soccer, so I don't actually fully know. And I'm sure it depends on the grade, but it's like, well, if you miss soccer training during the week, it's not a straight away, oh, you can't play.
Yeah.
Like they don't just cut you out and put someone else in your spot to do that. Like it's quite a brutal thing. That's like what I found anyway.
Yeah.
Like the consequences can be quite intense for what it actually is.
Do you think that creates or it adds to the kind of toxic environment? It's like we have to be like, I need to be here, and if you're not here, like we cut you out. So then I've got to make sure that I'm, what's the right word?
Available.
Yeah, not just available, but it's also like, if the environment, like you were saying that the environment of dancing is pretty tough. We'll say it's called tough. But is that because you know that at any moment you could get cut out of the group?
Yeah. Well, my dance studio is a really good dance studio. It's not like as toxic as any other one, but we do, because we're a small studio, so we do try like hard to get like the same results and stuff as the higher studios, and that does involve like
a lot of
putting
commitment.
more time into it, and like making sacrifices and stuff.
I think being in the dance, like, and creative arts generally, like I feel like it's not the easiest environment to be a Christian, and I think especially when you're a teenager and it's like after dance it's like, oh, I'm going to church, and they're like, oh, you go to church. Like I wouldn't think that of you. Like it's just like almost this like weird, like that's what I found anyway. Like it might be really different now, and like I think we went to very different dance studios, but yeah, it's a very hard place to be a Christian, and I think it's one of those hard places where priorities can almost not be considered, like personal priorities are not even considered of importance, because it's like, well, this is the priority.
Dance is the most important.
Yeah.
Is that the same for you, Amelia?
Yeah, it's also hard because at school, in like your friend groups that you have, you all kind of like the same thing. You're all kind of like similar, but with dancing, there's heaps of different types of people there, and we're all kind of like in the same friend group because we all dance together. So that's the one thing that like bonds us. So there's lots of different types of people that dance, and some who like definitely like do not like Christians and like church and stuff like that. Some of them think that church is like this really formal, fancy thing that you do like once a year on Christmas and stuff like that. So it is hard.
That's the way they've grown up as well.
Yeah.
And all that kind of thing.
Do you find as well like the competition of dance? Like I think I don't know if you've like seen Dance Mums, but it's like that whole like putting people on a pyramid of like, well, you're the best because you're the most committed and the most invested here, so you're gonna get the best spots in the dances, or you're gonna get like a special like moment in the dance, like, or a solo, like all that kind of stuff I think also plays into it, because it's like, well, if you miss out, like, sorry, you're not going to get those opportunities, because if you want to pursue dance, like that's the world that you're heading into. So you just got to they try to match that when you're young, but it shouldn't necessarily be like that, I think.
Is there a factor also about, I'd say that most people who do dancing are women.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that men can't do it either.
No.
But I would say that is there a factor there of like, this is something we talked about, Gemma, I think last time you were on the podcast with Katie, is like the way that girls interact with each other compared to guys, that it can be, if you're going to make it like a cutthroat environment, but there's also a thing of like, I've got to make sure I'm not, you tell me if I'm wrong, because you're much more qualified to tell me about this and this than myself. But is there also a thing of like, just make sure I'm not at the bottom of the totem pole, so I'm not the one that gets kicked out? Is that the case or not?
Yeah, sometimes, especially around girls, you feel yourself like changing the way that you are to kind of like fit in.
Really?
So you don't get like killed. Well, not killed, but like, so you don't get like talked about or left out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because gossip is
like isolated.
Yeah.
Because that's a bit of a thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think girls are like, I'm sure guys are too, but I think girls are very good at being exclusive and like, you can't join us, because I think with the kinds of activities that girls might do on the playground at lunch or whatever, is sitting in a circle and chatting. That's pretty much like, you won't really look around and see many girls running around. Like, and I'm not even trying to like stereotype, but it's like if you walked into a high school, that's what you would probably see.
That was my experience at high school.
Yeah. We stand up and talk though.
Yes, or stand. But you're in a little group and it's very easy to go, actually, like, we don't want this person to join us, so we're going to close our circle. Or we will literally tell that person, oh, sorry, we're having like a D&M, you need to go away. Like, it's so natural, and it's almost like accepted, like that behavior. It's just like, oh, of course you're having a D&M, like I won't interfere. Like that kind of almost like imposter syndrome of like going over and trying to include yourself is a lot more intense, I think, with girls. Like, do you find that?
Yeah, it's also hard because we stand in circles and it's hard to get into the circle. Like, it's so hard to get into that circle
Because once the circle is established,
there's no way getting in. And like, or people move in front of you in the circle, like, or they like step a bit forward so you can't see people in the circle. I'm like, just move back, just move back. It's so annoying. It's my pet peeve. Don't move in front of me in the circle.
Yeah, that's right.
it's funny because like as guys, I think you would probably like, if someone that you're like, oh, we're not keen on this guy, like, and it's again probably not the right attitude to have, but you would let them probably still, like, if you, let's say you're playing football together, and you're like, oh, we don't want this guy, but we'll let him play. So you let him play the whole time, but you would just subject him to insults, like all the time. Whereas it seems a little bit different. It's like, no, we're not even letting this person into the
you
group.
You can't even come in.
No.
Yeah.
Or we'll just like not even say anything and just let you stand there.
Yeah, it's also like the not acknowledging people.
So let you stand there and not acknowledge them.
Yeah.
How do you change that? Like, it's hard, right? And I'm not saying you should change it.
Usually I'm the one standing on the outside. Lol.
Yeah. I think if it's all right for me to like chime in.
I love you too. This is great. This is a great conversation.
I'm
learning and enjoying
Youth leader advice.
I remember, and this like might be so lame because this is when I was in primary school and our year 6 teacher literally had to tell us this because the exact thing was happening where girls were just like closing the circle, not letting anyone in. And she actually like came up to us like on the playground and was like, you need to open your circle. And I was just like, okay. But like that one incident has like stuck with me because I think every time I've like been in an environment where we're sitting in a circle or we're doing that, I've tried to be aware of if someone can come into the circle, if there's room for someone to sit down, or trying to acknowledge the person. Because I know that when I was in primary school, like more so than high school, I had that issue of like not being able to get in the circle or not being able to find the right people or feel like I was acknowledged in the groups. And I think if you're aware of that, even if one person who is in that environment is aware, oh, look, here's this person, or like even just saying, hey, like come sit with us, like being a bit more open and inclusive, like even if one person is doing that, that actually does make a difference. And it might not feel like it does because sometimes you might not be the person, even in the circle, like you might be the person. But like, I think, just trying to like model those behaviors, which like sounds really silly because it's like, oh, I'm going to show you how to be a person by like modeling this for you. But I think doing that actually does work.
Like changing the culture?
Yeah, trying to change the culture. And even if it's just you doing that, that still is beneficial in a really positive way to kind of model like Christ and show your friends like, hey, I love you guys because I'm a Christian and that's what I do. But also like for them to see that and go, oh, it's actually not so hard or it's not so bad to do that, you know?
Yeah. That is good. Sometimes it is hard to like actually see them because sometimes you're just so into your conversation that you just don't even notice.
Yeah.
And like.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's like going to be times where you're not going to be the person who will notice that. But I think if it's about your attitude, and I think if you do have an attitude that strives to model Christ and be an inclusive person, you don't need other people to necessarily be doing that with you for you to do it yourself. And I think that's kind of like one of the things that I've tried to do as I've like grown through teenage years and into like my young adulthood, because it's the same. Like when you're like, I just think as a girl, that doesn't change
Yeah.
as you grow up. Like even in adult circles, it's the same. Like there's that, it's more subtle, but it's still there, I think.
Yeah, people say it like it gets easier when you're older, but like
It does, but it's just different. Like
Yes.
I think you get maybe, I mean, I'm probably like from 30 onwards, I've started to realize how much I worry about what other people thought of me. And I wish that when I was at high school, I had more of that, if that makes sense. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But then when you say who cares, it's also like a thing of like, well, you still actually care.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's
like
more-
you care, but you don't care about yourself in the same. Like you don't care about like what people think of you. You care about like being how you are to others and like how you're being a friend and what you're.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I
I think so.
it's-
I wish I would stood up as a Christian more to love other people more.
Yeah.
That's like a big thing that I wish I'd done more, because I wasn't a very nice person to some people at school when I was. And that's not to say you suck, Amelia, because you're probably doing like way more than I was.
Whoa.
But I think I'm just wondering if you're talking about that circle thing, and do you think it's possible to change the culture? Like, have you seen it happen? That's the only reason I'm asking that question, because I would love. It's more as just an encouragement, and like I know that we're talking about girls, but it's the same for guys, just doing it in a different way. But is it? What's the right word? It's like if you can get one person to go, oh, actually, I would like to do that too, and then another one can do it, and another one can do it. Do you think that would actually happen? Because I don't know. I'm not in a situation like this.
You're asking me, aren't you?
I'm asking
Or
both of you.
It might happen in like a group of friends, maybe not like every single girl ever.
Yeah, of course.
But
Yeah.
but it probably could happen in like a group of friends.
And I think like there are going to be times where it doesn't work, and
Yeah.
I've like seen that, but
It's like the person trying to include people actually gets.
yeah,
Excluded.
and that's really sucky. But I think even when people see that happen, say there's like a ringleader to each girl, there's always like
There
the
always
top
is.
tier,
Queen
like
bee.
the popular girl.
Yeah, there's
like,
a bit of a ranking. isn't
Yeah,
there?
there is a
gosh.
ranking.
And you can see it. Like
can.
I like found myself, because I was doing a school tour the other day, I found myself like talking about like where my group kind of stood, and then I was kind of like pointing out where other people stood, and I was like not stood, but like where they hung out, and then I was kind of like, well, there really is like a class system here.
Totally.
I
And
was
I
like,
think
gosh.
what would happen, so say like someone tries to include someone in the group and goes, hey, let's open the circle or whatever, and then the like ringleader, I'm going to call them, goes, oh no, like you should go away as well, which I actually don't know if like it'd be said in that like harsh kind of way. Like I don't think anyone's going to directly say
It's
go
not like,
away,
It's not like
Yeah.
mean. It's
but
not
it's
like
going to
mean
be
girls.
subtle. It's
is
going to
it?
be very
Oh
subtle,
yeah,
like backhanded comments, like kind of body language, all of that stuff. And say that person who was trying to include someone got kicked out. I think in that circle there would be at least like a few people that would look at that and go, oh, why are we kicking that person out?
Yeah.
And that would make them think. So they might not necessarily be thinking about including the first person, but I think seeing that play out and the kind of attitude shift, I think that can also have an impact. And it doesn't
okay.
always work. Like it's never a perfect thing. And like we're human, we're not perfect. But I think people watch those things as well. It's not just about one person kind of like having that, but I think the one person can spark the change.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's encouraging, I think. Did you want to say something there, Amelia?
No,
Sorry.
just agreeing. Yeah.
The
So
only
true,
reason- and
Gemma.
one of the reasons I asked the question is like, I probably didn't think about this much until I had daughters. And now I'm like, oh, now I need to be prepared.
You do.
I need to know how to help.
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to say?
I was going to say, well, you're prepared with the sleigh.
The sleigh.
That's what I think. Like, what my middle daughter is 6, so she's got 10 years until she's. You're 16 now, aren't
Yeah.
you? Yep.
And like, sorry to
that's-
break
I
it to
think
you,
that's
but it's
gonna
already
change.
started. Like
Yeah.
the girl
Oh,
behavior
oh.
already starts.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I remember
was
when
at
I was
preschool.
5
Yeah.
and my mum was reading books about like stuff like being excluded. I remember seeing the books and I'm like,
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, it was happening to my daughter Everly at preschool.
Yeah, it's huge. Like
And she's a very inclusive person. So she's like, why are we doing this?
I
Yeah.
love Everly so
Yeah.
much.
Oh, thank you. So do I. What about, like we're talking about, it can be difficult being a Christian, whether it's in dancing or at school. is it nice to know that you can come home to a Christian household
Yes.
and be able to discuss that stuff with that kind of spiritual perspective and knowing that God still loves you and that kind of stuff. Can you tell me why that's a good thing? You said yes, but why is it a good thing?
It's a good thing because my mum, like, because she was obviously a teenage girl, and it's good that she can, like, it's nice that when I come home and I tell her about it, she kind of just explains it to me and, like, helps me through it in, like a way that God would be, like, happy about and stuff like that. And then I talk to my dad, and obviously he's not a female, so he doesn't know, but he kind of just, like, with all these years of being a youth leader, he, like, knows stuff about that. So it's kind of helpful that he shares past experiences, and, like, he kind of just helps. And it kind of just makes me feel better that, like, they know what I'm going through and they know what's happening and they can, like, help me.
Yeah, it's almost like not a refuge, but it's like and that's the thing that I miss too, right? And was probably why I didn't want to stand out as being a Christian as much when I was in high school. It's because my family aren't Christian.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's something that we talked about that when Ethan was on. He said the same thing. It's like whatever was going on at school, I knew I could come home.
Yeah.
And that must be a really encouraging thing. Because that was the same for you, Gem?
Yeah, same for me. And I think just also having like I went to a Christian school, so, like, I was in a much different situation. But I think also having, like, having a mix of Christian and non-Christian friends is also helpful, because I think when you can confide in your friends who are experiencing the same thing as you, who are Christian, I think that's a really beautiful thing. And I think, like, you would have that with your friends here at church as well.
Yeah, it's also good with my youth leaders, like you and Katie.
Stop.
I know, but it's really good, like, coming to you sometimes and just talking to you guys about
the same stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's not sometimes better, but sometimes your advice is different to my parents because they're obviously a lot older. And
I mean, look at them.
Yeah. I think it's different because I think school was just very
different,
fresh. Like, it's fresher for us.
Yeah.
And, like, we were at school at the same time. Like, when I was in school, like, so were you. So it's like, in that 13 years, like, a lot can change, but also, like, we're still familiar with that. But yeah, I think it's cool because on Fridays we do have a nice little check-in time and that chance to
and
kind of...
not just on Fridays too.
Not just on Fridays, like, you know, when we see each other, but I think the little community that we have as girls at youth is really beautiful.
To be able to build that relationship based on Jesus rather than interest, like you were talking about before. And isn't that cool that, like, Jesus is like the equalizer of everything? Like, you were talking about hierarchies before and, like, different rankings in groups, and
Jesus is the most popular of them all.
But he also diffuses the rank.
But that's the thing, like, he also humbled himself to be right at the bottom. And that's what makes him the king.
He is every class. He is every single one.
Or he perhaps might say he transcends every class.
Oh, that's a good one.
Do you know what that means?
No. I'm just gonna be like, yeah.
Basically, like, draws a line through the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What about? I was having an interesting conversation with a couple of the guys who were. They're studying at college now, so they're probably a little bit older than Gemma, but they were talking about how their generation was like almost like the first generation to go through having the internet from when they were very, very young. I was just interested in what your perspectives and thoughts are on that, because I didn't go on the internet for the first time until I was in year 5, for example.
Yeah.
So you would have grown up just being around it all the time. And that was dial-up, by the way. That was like super slow. That's not...
I don't know what that is.
It was a really slow internet.
Okay.
To make sense. It would use like a fax line, basically. And would use it a telephone line, which we still do now. But anyway, let's not get into tech chat.
I'll fall asleep. Get Ethan in.
Let's get your perspective on that. What do you think, Amelia?
Yeah, well, I didn't really... Well, looking at my littlest brother now and how much he grows up with his iPad, like, I definitely didn't have that. Like, I didn't have a device until I had a little iPod, but, like, I couldn't go on it. I didn't have a device until I was in year 5 and I needed it for school. So, like, I actually, like, grew up pretty tech-free when I was little. But now especially it's really hard with, like, social media and everything like that. And everybody has a phone. and people can't live without their phones. Like if they go somewhere without their phone, they literally like die.
Meltdown. Yeah.
They die. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Sorry to interrupt you, Jen.
Yeah, all good.
Well, because sometimes like my phone, like when I'm with it, I kind of feel safe sometimes because I can always call my mum. Like I call and text my mum about literally everything. She never replies, but like that's a different story.
Is that because she's at work a lot of the time?
No, she just doesn't reply. And then when I don't reply to her, she goes, Amelia, and then calls me, Amelia, where are you? Amelia, why aren't you replying? Amelia.
Christine voice, everyone. The Christine voice.
Christine voice. Love you, Mum. Yeah, but like, because I always like to, because like if I go somewhere that's like not with my mum, like if I'm with my parents, I don't really, well, I bring my phone, but like I don't really like need it. But like I guess people, because they have their like money on their phone, like people pay for transport on their phone, they pay for food on their phone.
Yeah. It's become like the all-in-one.
Yeah. Directions are on a phone. If you get lost, you can call people. It's just the ultimate slay.
Ultimate slay.
But you said social media though. Are you on social media?
I'm really on TikTok and Faces.
Faces. Oh, that's a new one.
Yeah. Why are you not on Instagram? Just out of interest.
My mum won't let me.
Right. Do you want to be?
Yeah. Because I do get left out. Like I do feel quite left out.
That's what's going to be my question. That if all your friends are on social media, and let's say you made the decision to not be on social media, what's the consequences of that?
I just get really left out. Like I literally get to the point where I like go on my mum's Instagram and like look up Harry Styles to see what he just posted. Because my friend's like, did you just see what Harry posted? And I'm like, no, I didn't. Like, oh, my mum's saying, oh, wow, yay, Harry.
Yay, Harry.
This is the thing I have to look forward to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be there to help you.
You will. You might be there, one of their leaders, actually.
Yeah, I probably will.
Which would be mad.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'll be the Gemma.
The
And you will be the Christine.
Oh,
oh my God.
Christine.
I can't have that.
Joking.
not
Christine.
yet. Love you, Christine.
Christine is an ultimate slay.
She is a slay.
I honestly love Mum.
She's like low-key my boss, but not my boss.
Yeah.
So
We
it's a vibe.
had beef. Mum and I had beef. We had
Ooh.
serious beef when I was going through my emo years.
When did the emo years?
Yeah, I actually remember that.
Year
was
7.
Like,
Year
I was
seven,
on and off
Amelia.
ADHD medication and stuff
okay.
like that, so I was emo.
yeah, year
And-
7 was quite a time for not just you, for like all the year 7 girls. There was something in the waters. I don't know.
Oh, it's just fresh year 7. It's happening.
It's spicy.
But now as I'm growing up, I can like see what's happening to the little year 7s now, and I'm like, oh.
So what was
emo
it though?
years. Oh, I just like didn't like my mum. Like, well, I liked her, but like, she just annoyed me. Like like we just fought because we're like very similar. So we just fought all the time. And it got to the point where like Dad had to be in the room when we were talking to like make sure we didn't fight.
Wow.
He's our peacemaker. Not anymore.
Not anymore?
No, Dad and I giggle about Mum. We were doing it before because she said that she nearly died in the car with me, and Dad's like, what happened? I was like, she didn't nearly die. She's being overdramatic. I was fine. I was a safe driver.
Okay, let's give your mum a break here.
No, I love you,
Christine's
Christine.
the best. She is the best.
Yep. Cheers. I don't know. You have any other questions, Gemma? I usually have one planned, but I didn't have one planned.
Yeah, I can't really think of a question except like, I guess for you, I feel like we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but I feel like I haven't asked the specific question of like, what does life necessarily look like for you, like as a Christian doing all the activities? Because we've kind of talked about like how it can be like a negative, not negative, but like how being a Christian can affect the way that you are included or the way that you get to be invited to things or do all of that, and how sometimes being a Christian you miss out on other things. But what are some of the things that you do like as a Christian? Like what are some of the things that you have tried to do to, I guess, be inclusive or like, you know, do that kind of stuff? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I try to be nice to everyone. My mum always says, treat others the way you want to be treated. So that's like always in the back of my brain because she always says it. I'm like, okay, yes, thank you. Yeah, I try to include people as much as I can. It is hard, but I try my best,
Yeah.
and I invite.
What does that look like for you?
Mm.
Oh,
Well,
sorry, you were about to say you invite.
Oh, I invite people to youth and stuff like that.
Mm. What's the response you get when you say come to youth?
Well, some people, like one of my friends' mum won't let her because
Do you know why that is?
no clue. But I'm kind of just like, yeah, okay, because I don't want to get in trouble with any parents.
Of course.
But other people, like, it is hard because Friday night is such a woo, let's go out Friday night.
Yeah, and you're at
Oh,
youth,
as
which
your
is such a
friends do.
contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, oh no, I have work, or oh no, I'm busy, or I'm going out for dinner. And I'm like, we could go out for dinner before youth.
Well, come have dinner at youth, you know.
Yeah, come
Yeah,
have dinner.
true.
Dinner's here.
True, so true.
It's cheap.
That actually is
You
true.
could tell them it's cheap too. And it's usually pretty tasty.
Yeah.
It is.
It's nice.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because I have been a youth leader for a while now, and also was at youth myself. But I'm finding it's becoming more and more common for in a similar situation to you, where you ask someone to come and they're like, "Oh, my parents said no," which is quite an interesting thing because I feel like a lot of teenagers don't want to listen to everything their parents
Oh yeah.
say or do.
Nobody
but,
likes to listen to their parents.
But youth is the thing. It's like, oh, my parents really don't want me to come to that. And I feel like that's only been it's always been a
shift.
problem, but there's been a shift where that's a significant roadblock. Like we've had a few, one of the girls at youth has recently brought someone along who finally came after heaps of persistence
asked
and
and
being
asked.
asked and asked and
Yeah.
asked. And then the parents just kind of was like, whatever, but I'm
Yeah.
not driving you there. Or things like that. Because sometimes it is just a logistical no, oh, I can't be bothered to drive you there.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is just I don't really want you at a church, which is really huge.
It's very different to what it used to be even.
Yeah.
10,
Well, I
10
found
years ago.
when you guys were in year 7, that wasn't really as much of a thing. It's
Yeah.
the current year 7s, seems to be a really big problem, which I found interesting to watch because it's how do you navigate that? When it's the parents are the barrier, because it's you want to honour the parents and their decision and their right as parents, but also it is holding them back from coming to church and getting to know Jesus.
Yeah. Well, also, work, for my age, work is a very big one because Friday nights is a big work night. And so, my friend who comes here quite a few times, she always has work, all the time. And I'm like, how do you work that much? But, work is a big one that they're like, oh, I can't work.
Yeah. The priorities are just a bit different, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always been a thing, I suppose, with youth or being a Christian, and it's kind of like you, Amelia, coming to church on a Friday night rather than working or doing what your school friends are choosing to do.
Yeah.
That's actually very countercultural. And I think that's the other thing that we maybe forget, even at church, because we do church on a Saturday night, and a lot of us go to church on a Saturday night, and we think that's just normal for us.
Yeah.
I've been this is the 10th year of Soul Revival Church. So I've been doing it for at least 10 years, but then we were doing it at Gemma Anglican as well. So it's got to be almost 20 years since I'd be doing some kind of church activity on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's interesting about it, is that your question to Amelia, Gemma, was what kind of things are you doing? I think you talked about inviting people and stuff, but look what you're doing. You go to youth on a Friday night, church on a Saturday night most of the time.
Well, most of the time, yeah.
You have occasionally gone to Cronulla as well on a
Yeah,
Sunday
I used to
as well.
go to Cronulla a lot, but then we kind of switched.
Well, you just switch that up,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
And I also watch online sometimes. And I went to Yarrawarra once.
Okay.
Too early. I couldn't do it. Oh, especially
Not a
because
morning
Dad
person.
has to leave early.
Yeah, he
he
does.
leaves at the crack of dawn, and I'm like, ugh, could not do it.
But I think that not so much as with your words, but also with your actions. That's you are living a very different life, and even if you have to be outside the circle,
There's a circle here that I can
you're
be in.
very much inside this in the circle and welcomed within the circle, and we also allow other people to come into the circle
Yeah.
as
That's right.
well.
It's not a closed circle, everyone.
We have a slaying circle of slays.
That really sounds like you're inviting people just to be slaughtered in the
No.
middle of a circle.
No.
Like some weird ritual.
No rituals.
No rituals. Just God.
That sounds weird too.
I know.
No rituals. There's definitely no rituals,
No
guys.
rituals.
No,
No.
rituals.
We just eat dinner, we chill, we learn about God, we chat, we play
Do all
games.
kinds of things. We
sometimes.
make bracelets.
We make bracelets.
Yeah. One more question though, before we probably wrap it up eventually. How do you go being the oldest child in your family and having 2 younger brothers? You don't need to trash them.
Yes, I won't trash them.
I'm asking about you yourself.
Yes. It is quite hard because, especially loving others, it's quite hard to love them when they are yelling at me, but that's okay. And especially because I'm the only girl in my family. So I've always kind of been like when I was little, I hung out with them like all the time, but now I'm kind of like leaning, I hang out with mum and dad more.
So what's your age gap to, gosh, I always get your brothers mixed up, Tobias?
Tobias and I are like 2.5 months. 2.5 months.
Wow.
2.5 years. And
Kind
Nate
of
and I are like
impossible.
yeah, Nate and I are like 5.5 years.
Yep.
I actually have a very similar situation to
Age
Amelia,
range.
because
Yeah.
I'm the oldest and I'm the only girl, and my 2 brothers, we have very similar age gaps. So
Yeah.
that when you say like that you hang out with your parents, I was like, yep, that's like really
There's also-
resonates with me.
There's also a thing with like teenage girls that they like. I'm not trying to be disparaging, but they really like to act like they're more mature than they are.
Yeah.
And I think
Oh,
that
no,
might
yeah.
be. Yeah.
I love acting more mature than my brothers, and because I am more mature than my brothers. And
I meant more like your current age. You're like, I'm actually way more mature than you think.
Oh no, yeah. Oh yeah.
I think we both.
I used to do that when I was
think we both
little.
also are like very talkative, and the current thing in my house at the moment, because I'm about to get married and move out, at the dinner table, it's like after we finish eating, both my brothers, see you later. They're off.
No, this
Oh,
is
my brothers
boring.
aren't even at
And
the
then-
dinner table.
and
Can
then
I
my-
eat dinner in the bath?
In the bath.
In the bath. And then Tobias gets in there and he goes, Nate, there's food all in the bath. And I'm like, oh, yuck. No, like I can't deal. I was like, have a shower. Have an actual shower.
And eat dinner at the table.
Yes.
Yes.
But like both my brothers are gone off the table, and I like sit there and chat, and my parents are like, what are we going to do when you're gone? Who will talk to us? Who will sit here and talk to us? I'm like,
Oh yeah, I'm so
sorry guys, see ya.
This is why I'm getting out.
Oh
I'm
god.
I love
sick of
them.
the conversation.
Just like tape them to the chest. You're not leaving.
And you'll find like when you get older, like when it comes to like, there's a transition time where you're the one organizing like Mother's Day presents and like
Oh, yeah.
birthdays and stuff, which I'm sure
Me
you're
and
already
Dad.
like
Me and
doing.
Dad.
It's like you'll get to a point where like your dad stops being involved, and your brothers will be like, Amelia, what are we doing? What are we doing? That's like literally the older sister job. It's like, have you organized this? No, I haven't actually, because
no.
it's all our job, not just my job.
I pay for everything already.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
Amelia, do you have $5 I can borrow? Yes.
And you'll
Here
be
you
driving
go.
them around soon.
Oh yeah.
Just
oh,
you
no.
wait. Just
yeah,
you
yeah.
wait.
Yeah. I'm already aware that I'm going to be driving them around. I already know. And then it's like, I'm not getting in the car with you.
He
and
says
then,
that,
yeah.
but just you wait.
Remember how we
And-
said we weren't going to trash your brothers?
Oh yeah,
though?
no,
Yes.
no. But it's funny because Dad goes, well then have fun staying at home all the time.
Yeah, it's like when they need to get somewhere and you're the only person that can drive them,
Yeah.
they'll be nice to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, because my sister's 3 and a bit years younger than me. I don't think I had to drive her around that much. Which is nice. But, you know,
That's fun.
yeah. Anything else before we finish?
I think I've said slay enough.
Slay.
Slay, 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 slay.
I have one more thing to say.
It is fry slay.
Oh, okay. I feel like this is a good
Oh,
thing
yes.
to end on.
Okay.
So one week at youth, we're like sitting in our commitments time, which is like a little Bible study discussion group that we have. And one of the girls that actually wasn't Amelia said, I have to tell everyone something. We came up with the slays of the week. And I was like,
They did not come
okay.
up with it. It was actually on TikTok. I saw it.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, excellent. I was like, let's go. And she was like, Monslay, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I was like, she just like kept going. And I was like, thank you so much.
No, but I was actually going to bring that up. And I was like, that came up on my food page too. You didn't make it
So
up.
On your what page?
for
For
you
you
page
page.
on
For
TikTok.
you page.
That's what we call it. Because it's just FYP. So it's for you.
But yeah, so now Friday is just a slay.
Slay of the day.
Slay of the day.
Do you have any slays of the day, Gemma?
Slays of the day. I feel like I just said the slay
Yeah.
of the day.
In this podcast.
This whole thing
Slays
is a
of the
slay
week.
of the day.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
think-
sure Amelia's going to be listening to this for the whole week when it comes out, when
On
she's cleaning
repeat.
her room.
On repeat.
If I clean my room.
Yeah, on repeat.
Honestly, yeah. And I'm going to be like, guys.
Actually, and you've
Watch
also
me.
said like at my wedding you're going to yell out a slay.
Oh, yeah. I did ask when it was appropriate, though.
It's like, when can I say slay?
When
When
can
did
I
you
say
say
it?
it's appropriate?
I said when we're like leaving the ceremony. When we're walking out, you can go slay.
I'm so excited. So excited.
Jake actually loves a slay, so it's fine.
Jake is such a slay. Jake and James. Oh, and Ethan, of course. Ethan's
But
always been a slay.
they just own the slays. They're just
Yeah.
like, yeah, slay. Like
Their
even the
favorite
boys
thing
are
is to
starting
do
say it.
slay. Slay. They do that.
Anyway,
Like I said to you, this is not a Beyonce film clip.
it's not. But why not make your life
that-
like a
what's
Beyonce?
Why does
What's that
Beyonce
move?
own the slay?
What's
Oh,
that
it's
move?
just a slay.
Because the only time I've heard it.
Yeah,
Like,
slay. It's like I feel like it's like I think it's come from like holding like shopping bag, like
Yeah.
like look how much.
Or
money
like-
I
like
have
with
and
your
I bought
nails?
this, or like
oh,
you know, I don't know.
yeah.
I think it's a bit of a like show off.
The thing, if
Yeah.
you slay, it means you're killing it, right?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
killing
but
it.
that's not what slay means nowadays.
yeah, it does.
Nowadays.
Everyone just says slay to everything, but
It's
does
not like
mean,
actually
Hang
slaying.
on,
You're
not
smashing it.
everyone
not
says
sorry.
slay about everything.
Yeah, so
I've-
teenagers.
The
teenagers
boys in my
say
group
slay
now
for
say
Gemma.
slay.
and me.
Do they?
Yeah.
Mm.
I've turned them to the slay side.
I'm just worried that as a teacher, I'm going to start saying slay
Gemma, you'll be the best
to the
teacher
class,
ever.
and I feel like that's really not appropriate to be like slay. Like when they do good work, like
I teach the kids I babysit how to say slay.
yeah, that's different. That you're not in front of a classroom of like 30
Oh, I know.
people.
No, our teachers say slay. Well, some of them.
Your teachers do.
Well, Miss Cherry, she's so cute.
Maybe I'll get a little teacher stamp that says slay.
Oh, are you
Gemma,
marking?
stop the stickers. If you
You're like,
get a
slay.
oh,
You've
that,
been slayed.
You've been slayed.
Yep, slayed. That's a
can you
slay
come
mark.
teach at my school and I'll just stay
Sure.
back. I'll stay back until you come teach at my school,
You'll just repeat.
just so I can get a slay stamp.
I feel like this podcast is just
Yeah.
like spiraling.
It is, it
Spiraling
is.
away.
It is.
Amelia, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I was really glad that we had you on. I feel like this is the most we've spoken ever, so I've really enjoyed it.
Great.
Great. That's
Great.
right. Great.
I do love
Great.
to talk.
I've influenced everyone. But I think it's also like we talked about a lot of things to do with school and being a girl and how things are difficult and stuff. But I'm still really encouraged by you, by the way that your positivity. I recently read statistics that like anxiety is through the roof with people around your age.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
And I don't see that with you, and I think that's really cool. And I think a lot of that is based on knowing that Jesus is your savior, and knowing that, you know, whatever happens, you've still got him. And I think that's what I'm really encouraged about. And like hearing your guys' relationship and the relationship that you've built together is, again, it's around Jesus, and then be able to like care and serve and love each other in that scenario. So big ups to you as well, Gemma, for being a great leader.
Yes.
And for establishing that relationship. And I don't know, I'm glad I did this podcast, even though
Excellent. Forced into
I
it.
probably, well, it was good because we didn't have any other guests, so it was great. But the other thing I was going to say was like, I
I'm here all
could
the
have
time.
done with probably a few less slays.
No, there's not a limit to the sleigh.
But yeah,
It just makes this podcast unique.
Yeah.
it's
Like
true.
episode.
Speaking of something that's slay, you can check out soulrevival.shop if you want Soul Revival apparel.
Get some
Amelia
fresh
is
merch.
wearing the first drop that we did when we relaunched the apparel
Got
line.
some on the way too for week away, just in
Yes,
time.
absolutely. So the orders have closed for that now.
Oh, okay.
But there's plenty of other stuff on the site, so you can check that out. soulrevival.shop. All of our proceeds go to our Indigenous ministry partners. We just pay for the cost of the garment, and then we give everything else to our friends in Western New South Wales. So check that out if you're interested in it. Anything else before we finish?
Have a slaying day.
That sounds like a Christmas thing.
I'm going to make a sleigh song.
You need to do it to a Christmas tune.
Yeah.
Sleigh, 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 sleigh,
Oh.
sleigh, sleigh. Oh, we might get copyrighted.
One way, everyone. You say one way?
One way.
One way.
One way.